Good evening. This is a night walk through Constantinople, the Queen of Cities, on a calm spring night in the year 1200, made for you to fall asleep to. You don't need to do anything. You don't even need to listen closely. My voice is just something soft for your mind to rest on, and if you drift off somewhere between the harbour and the great church, that's the whole idea. Let your breathing slow down if you'd like. There's no rhythm to keep. 500,000 people live inside these walls, on a city built where two seas meet, and nearly all of them are asleep. The lamps are burning low in 1,000 churches. The water is quiet on 3 sides, and the night is long and safe. Let's begin among the ships. It's an hour before midnight, and you're standing on the quay of the Golden Horn, the deep sheltered harbour that curls along the city's northern side like an arm drawn around something precious. By day, this is the richest waterfront on Earth. Tonight, it is a forest of sleeping masts. Ships from everywhere lie moored rail to rail along the quay. Round-bellied grain ships from Alexandria, Venetian galleys with their oars shipped and dreaming, Russian riverboats that came down with furs and wax and amber, fishing craft by the hundred. Their masts rise against the stars in uneven ranks, bare of sail, swaying together so slightly that you have to watch a while to be sure they're moving at all. From somewhere down the line comes the soft, irregular music every harbour makes at night. Water clucking between hulls, a rope easing on a bollard, 2 boats touching and parting with a low wooden knock. Sounds you may remember from another harbour in another century. Harbours have spoken this language forever. The water itself lies black and calm, printed with riding lights. Every larger ship keeps one small lamp burning at its stern, and the harbour doubles each of them, so that looking down the horn, you see 2 sets of stars. One hanging in the rigging, one floating on the water, both of them rocking gently to the same slow breath. Far out at the harbour's mouth, where the horn opens toward the strait, the great chain is up for the night. The famous boom of massive iron links, floated on timbers, drawn from shore to shore at dusk to close the harbour like a door. No vessel enters, none leaves until morning. You can't see the chain from here, only the little watchfires burning at its towers on either shore. But every sailor sleeping in this forest of masts can feel it out there in the dark, and sleeps the better for it. The door is shut, the harbour is held, the night belongs to the harbour alone. The air smells of salt and tar and wet rope, and under it, faintly, of the cargoes waiting in the warehouses behind you. Grain and cedar, wine and pepper, a whole world's goods dozing in the dark. Above the warehouses, up the slope, the city rises in terraces of shadow, domes on domes, and here and there a point of lamplight where someone in 500,000 is still awake. And crowning the ridge, unmistakable even in darkness, the vast grey shoulder of a dome larger than any other on Earth, calm as a mountain. We'll stand beneath it before the night is out. But first, the city has to let us in, through a gate in the sea wall, just up the quay, where a watchman keeps a brazier burning. Let's go and find the door. The gate in the sea wall is small. A side door, really, the kind sailors and porters use, nothing like the great ceremonial gates further along. The wall itself runs off in both directions into the dark, higher than a house, salt-stained to shoulder height, and old enough that nobody thinks about how old it is. The door stands open a hand's width. Inside the arch, a watchman keeps his post, and his post is mostly a brazier. It's a good brazier. Iron legs, A bed of coals burned down to steady orange, no flame left, just heat. The watchman has arranged his whole night around it. Stool at the right distance, cloak over his knees, a jug of something within reach, and a cup. The cup has a chipped rim, you notice, chipped and mended with a band of copper wire, the kind of repair a man does for a cup he has decided to keep. He is not asleep. He is doing the thing watchmen do that is close to sleep but isn't. Eyes half open toward the fire, hearing everything. He hears you, certainly. One eye finds you, takes your measure. No cargo, no torch, no hurry, just some night walker, and lets you pass with the smallest tilt of his chin. People come through at all hours. The city on this side never entirely closes. It only slows down. Through the arch, the passage smells of wet stone and coal smoke. And then you're inside the walls, in the harbour quarter, where the warehouses stand in rows with their doors barred and their gods painted small above the lintels. Somewhere up the lane a donkey shifts in a stable. The sea sound follows you in through the gate for a while, quieter with every step, until the buildings take it away. The streets here climb. Everything in this city climbs. It's built on hills, 7 of them, if you believe the people who like the number, and the harbour quarter is the bottom stair. The lanes go up between the warehouses in long, shallow steps, worn in the middle, and rainwater from some earlier week is still standing in one worn hollow, holding a piece of sky. There's a thing under this quarter that most cities don't have, and it's worth a detour before we climb to the grander streets. A door in a plain wall, a stairway going down, and at the bottom, water. A whole palace of it, underground, held up on columns. The cistern. Let's go down. The stairway down is narrow, brick and cool, and it turns twice. With each turn, the street sounds above you get thinner, and something else comes up to meet you. The smell of deep water and old stone, and a silence with a very particular shape to it. A silence with a ceiling. Then the stairs end, and you are standing at the edge of an underground lake in a forest of columns. They rise straight out of the black water in rows, marble columns, each one thick as an old tree, going back and back into the dark until the torchlight gives up counting them. 336 of them, somebody told me once. Or 328, I've forgotten, and standing here, the number stops mattering. What matters is that they go on. Row after row, each column doubled perfectly in the still water below it, so that the cistern seems twice as tall as it is. Columns rising above, columns falling away beneath, and the water between them like a seam in the middle of the world. 2 torches burn in brackets by the stair. The keepers leave them lit for the night inspectors, and their light does something in here it does nowhere else. It lies down on the water. Long soft roads of orange reach out from each flame across the black surface, bending around the column bases, trembling very slightly, going further into the dark than light has any business going. This is the city's water. Up there, 500,000 people. Down here, and in cisterns like it all across the hills, the rain and the aqueduct water of whole seasons, stored and held and waiting. A city on a peninsula learns to keep its water close, the way it keeps its grain, the way it keeps its walls in repair. Most of the people who drank from this cistern today have never seen it. They know the fountain on their street, and the fountain knows this place, and that's arrangement enough for everyone. Listen now. This is why we came down. Somewhere off among the columns, water is dripping. Slowly, A drip, then a long pause, then another, falling from the vaulted brick ceiling where the damp gathers, each drop landing in the lake with a sound that shouldn't be as large as it is. But the cistern takes each small sound and hands it from column to column, ceiling to water and back, so that a single drip becomes a soft ringing word spoken in an enormous room, rolling away down the dark aisles, fading, gone. And then the pause, long enough that you wonder if it's finished, and then another from somewhere else entirely. Drip. And the room says it again, quieter, and again quieter than that. Nobody tunes this, nobody planned it. It's just what happens when you put still water under a brick sky and give it 400 years. There's a ledge along the wall by the stair, dry and broad, where the inspectors set their lamps, and you can sit there as long as you want. The torches lean and recover. The orange roads on the water tremble and hold. Somewhere in the dark, a drop finishes its long fall from the ceiling. It might have taken an hour to gather, and the whole cistern repeats it to itself, aisle by aisle, like something being memorized. The cold down here is mild, cellar cold, the same in summer and winter. The water never hurries, the columns never tire. Of all the rooms in this enormous city, this may be the one most completely at rest, and it's the one holding the city's life in it. When you climb back up, the night air will feel warm, and the street sounds will come back one turn of the stair at a time. Up there, the main street of the world is waiting. The Mese, the marble road that runs the whole spine of the city. Take the stairs slowly, there's no reason not to. The Mese by day is the spine of everything. The great colonnaded street that runs from the palace quarter clear across the city. The road emperors ride down and half the world's goods travel up. By night, it's a long hall of moonlight with nobody in it. The street is broad enough for a triumph and paved in big marble slabs, silver grey at this hour, polished in 2 long tracks down the middle by centuries of feet and wheels. On both sides run the porticos, covered walkways behind rows of columns, 2 stories in places, and behind the porticos, the shops. Shuttered now, all of them, hundreds of them, their wooden fronts closed and barred, one after another, down the whole reach of the street. But shops leave traces even when they're shut, and walking the portico, you read the day's business with your nose. Here, a stretch of perfumers. The shutters can't hold it all in, and the air under the colonnade still carries rosewater and something resinous. Myrrh maybe. Further on, the silk cellars which smell of almost nothing, just a cleanness, a dry whisper of cloth. Then the spice dealers announce themselves from 6 doors away. Pepper and cinnamon bark and things you couldn't name. The smells layered into the very stone by now. 50 years of pepper dust in the joints of a marble floor. Sweeping doesn't touch it. Under one of the columns, a button. Bone, 4 holes, dropped by somebody today or last month, sitting in the moonlight near the base of a column that was old when the button maker's grandfather was born. Someone will step on it tomorrow and never know. That's a city for you. It keeps everything and notices almost nothing. Overhead, between the portico roofs, the strip of night sky runs along the street like a second road, and the moon has the whole thing to itself. There are lamps in the porticos. The street is lit at night. This city insists on it. The prefect pays men to tend the wicks, but they're spaced far apart and burning low by this hour. Small yellow rooms of light with long stretches of blue dark between them. You walk through light, then dark, then light, at the pace of someone with nowhere to be. Your footsteps under the colonnade are doubled. Each one comes with a small echo off the shop fronts, half a beat behind, like someone considerate walking just after you. At intervals, the street opens out into forums. The city has several strung along the Mese like knots on a cord, and you can see the first of them ahead now, a circular opening in the buildings where the moonlight pools, and in the middle of it, standing up into the stars, a single dark column far taller than all the rest. That's the Column of Constantine, the man the city is named for. It's a good place to stand for a while. The street will still be here after. The Forum is round, the only round one in the city, and stepping into it feels like stepping into a stone clearing. The buildings pull back into a wide circle of colonnades, the sky opens overhead, and in the very center, rising higher than everything around it, stands the column. It's porphyry, deep purple-red stone, the emperor's stone, brought from one particular mountain in Egypt and nowhere else. And it goes up in great drums, each one taller than a man, ringed at the joints with bronze bands that catch a little of the moon. On top, far up, a statue. Constantine himself, they'll tell you, though the statue has been changed and mended and struck by lightning over the centuries, and what's up there now is mostly silhouette. He faces east. He's been facing east for 900 years. The locals treat the column the way you treat a very old relative, with affection and stories. They'll tell you there are holy things sealed in the base, crumbs from the loaves of the feeding of the 5,000, the adze of Noah, other items that grow in number depending on who's telling. Nobody can check. That's rather the point of putting things under a column. By day, this forum is all business. Money changers under the colonnades, notaries, a horse market on certain days, and the paving remembers it. Near the North Arc, someone's melon rinds from this afternoon are still lying by a column base, neatly stacked, the way a tidy person leaves their mess. The pigeons found them hours ago and moved on. At night, the round shape does something to sound. Stand at the center, near the column's base, and scuff your foot once. The circle hands the sound back to you from all sides at once, soft and immediate, a room's echo in an open place. Emperors used to be acclaimed here, whole crowds shouting in unison, and the circle must have made a single voice of them. Tonight it makes a single voice of your footsteps, which is a much better use of it, if you ask me. The bronze statues around the rim, governors, generals, a couple of horses, stand in their usual attitudes, gesturing at nothing, moon on their shoulders. One of the horses has a polished nose, centuries of hands touching it for luck on the way to market. You can touch it too. It's smooth as sea glass and slightly cold. Past the Forum, downhill to the north, there's a smell on the night air that needs no explaining, because it's the same in every city and every century there has ever been. Bread. The baker's quarter is banking its ovens. Let's follow the smell. The bakers have their own street here. The guild likes to keep together, and at this hour it's a street of warm doorways. Every bakery is shut, and every bakery is glowing, just faintly, from deep inside. The banked ovens fired down to embers for the night, breathing their heat out through the doorway's seams. Walk down the middle of the lane, and you pass through the warmth in slow waves. Oven, gap, each shop front exhaling gently into the night, like something asleep. The rules here are strict and old. Bread in this city is serious government business. The guild book says what a loaf weighs, what it costs, how far a bakery must stand from the neighbors' houses on account of fire. A baker who cheats the scale answers to the eparch's men. In return, the bakers stand near the top of the working city. Everyone else can skip a trade for a season. Nobody skips bread. 500,000 people, and every single one of them will want a loaf tomorrow, and this street already knows it. The dough is rising in the back rooms right now, in covered troughs, doing its slow, patient work in the dark. Nobody supervises it. It's the only worker in the city on duty right now who isn't a watchman. On one doorpost, at shoulder height, there's a handprint in flour. Left today or last week, white on the dark wood, fingers spread. A baker steadying himself on the way out, hands still dusted. It'll wear off when it rains. One shop down the road does a special trade, the church loaves. Round breads stamped before baking with a carved wooden seal, a cross, letters, an old formula, because some of tomorrow's bread isn't going to market at all. It's going to the altars. A great church city eats a great deal of blessed bread. The stamps hang inside the shop on a cord, a dozen of them, worn shiny at the handles. Same oven, same flour, same tired baker. And some loaves come out groceries, and some come out holy. The oven doesn't distinguish. That's for others to sort out. At the far end of the lane, the last oven's glow gives out, and the street tips you into a small, crooked square with a fountain in it. A modest one spout, city water from the cisterns you visited, murmuring along in the dark. It's been in earshot for a while, actually. The oven's warmth just had your attention. Uphill from here, above all the rooftops, that vast grey shoulder you saw from the harbour has been getting closer all night. It's time. Let's go stand under the dome. The doors of the great church stand open at night. They are always open. In a city of locked shops and barred gates, this one house never closes. Because, as the sacristans will tell you, shrugging, as if it were obvious, prayer doesn't keep business hours. You cross the outer porch, then the inner one, each dimmer and taller than the last, your footsteps going quiet on marble, worn into shallow waves by 5 centuries of entering feet. Then the last doorway. And then the inside of Hagia Sophia at night, which people have been failing to describe for as long as it has existed. So I'll keep it simple and fail quickly. It is a room the size of weather. The space doesn't stop where rooms stop. It goes up and widens as it goes, galleries above arcades above columns, half domes leaning into each other, everything climbing toward the great dome itself, so high and so wide that the ribs of it blur in the dark, and the ring of little windows at its base hangs like a circle drawn in the air. An old historian wrote that the dome seems not to rest on stone at all, but to be let down from heaven on a golden chain. People have repeated that line for 600 years. Standing here at night, you see why nobody's improved on it. The lamps are what hold the dark together. Great flat rings of them. Polycandela, wheels of bronze hung on long chains from unreachable heights, each wheel carrying its circle of small glass cups of oil and flame. Dozens of these wheels float at different depths in the enormous dark, burning low for the night, and around each one the nearest gold gathers. Because the walls up there are gold, acres of mosaic, millions of glass cubes backed with gold leaf, covering vaults you can barely see. And at night the gold does its quietest work. It doesn't shine, it hoards. Every small flame in the room is being held dimly somewhere up in that surface. a faint warm dust of light lying over the curves of the ceiling, less like decoration than like the memory of all the candles that have ever burned in here. Look long enough, and the dark overhead seems to breathe it, very slowly, in and out. Someone is moving, far off across the nave, a sacristan with a taper, tending the lamps, appearing and disappearing behind columns. The scale of the building does something almost comical to him. A full-grown man, reduced to a small warm star drifting at floor level. It takes him a long time to cross. He is in no hurry. The lamps get tended all night, in shifts, and have been since before his grandfather's grandfather. The marble underfoot and on the walls is book-matched. Great slabs sawn and opened like pages, so the veining mirrors itself. And by lamplight, the patterns become whatever you decide. Grey rivers, storm clouds, hills folded in fog. Generations of people waiting through long services have found pictures in this marble. It's the largest cloud-watching game on Earth, and it's played lying down, so to speak, by an entire city. Sit on the cold ledge along the wall. Everyone does. It's allowed. And let the place be enormous around you for a while. There is no sound except occasionally the tick of an oil cup somewhere above, and once the far door easing shut behind some other sleepless person who came in, stood, and left. 500,000 people, and this room stays open all night, holding its gold and its lamps, on the fair assumption that someone, at any hour, might need a very large quiet place. Tonight that someone is you. Take your time. When you're ready, there's a smaller holiness a few streets east, a walled monastery where, quite soon now, the night office begins. If we walk slowly, we'll arrive just as they wake. The monastery announces itself with a wall and a smell, whitewashed stone and cypress. 2 old cypresses stand inside the gate like doorkeepers who fell asleep on duty 100 years ago and were kindly left to it. The gate's wicket is unlatched. Monasteries in this city keep a door ajar for late travelers. It's part of the rule, and inside is a small courtyard with an arcade around 3 sides, a stone well in the middle, and exactly 1 lit window. The courtyard is swept. Monastery courtyards are always swept. It seems to be a form of prayer that leaves marks. Come stand under the arcade. Something is about to happen, small and old, and worth being awake for. Against the chapel wall hangs a long plank of hardwood on 2 ropes, the sementron. No bell. Bells exist in this city, but the monasteries mostly keep to the older instrument. A board, and a wooden mallet, and a monk whose turn it is. It's nearly the middle hour of the night, which is when this house rises to pray. They've done it every night since the founding. They'll do it tonight whether anyone is standing in the courtyard or not. A door opens under the arcade. You hear it more than see it, and sandals cross the stones. A pause, then the board speaks. Talk, 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 talk. Wood on wood, dry and round and surprisingly musical, an uneven galloping rhythm that speeds and slows in a pattern the striker learned from an older monk who learned it from an older one. It circles the courtyard once. He walks as he strikes. That's the custom. The rhythm bouncing softly off the arcades, and the cypresses take a little of it. And the well takes a little, and then he reaches the chapel door, and the board says its last few words and stops. And doors begin to open. Quiet ones, all around the arcade. Soft scrapes, sandal steps. The small sounds of a dozen people who have done this thousands of times and don't need light to do it. Shapes cross the courtyard, and file into the chapel, and the one lit window becomes several, dimly, as tapers are carried in. Then through the chapel wall, the chant. You can't make out words, the wall keeps those, just the shape of it. Low male voices moving together, one line of melody, rising a little, settling, pausing to breathe all at once, resuming. It isn't music for an audience, nobody in there is performing. It's more like listening to people work. Steady, unhurried work in a language of long vowels. And it will go on, off and on, until nearly dawn. Stay under the arcade as long as you like. Nobody will trouble you. A listener in the courtyard at the night office is an old and welcome kind of guest. The chant rises and settles. The well holds its circle of sky. One of the cypresses lets go of a dry twig, which takes an impressively long time to reach the ground. There's a bench worn smooth beside the gate. The whole city is out there beyond the wall, sleeping in its 500,000 beds, and in here a dozen voices are quietly holding the night open on its behalf. That's the arrangement, and it's held for a very long time. When you slip back out through the wicket, latch it soft behind you. The chant follows you up the lane for half a street. Then the houses take it. The next place is bigger than anything tonight except the church, and emptier. The Hippodrome, 100,000 seats, and every one of them free. You come in through one of the arched vaults under the seating, the way 100,000 people come in on race days, and the passage does what all such passages do. Squeezes the sound of your steps into echo, holds it, then lets you out into the open. And the Hippodrome opens around you like a valley. It's the biggest made thing you've ever stood inside that has no roof. 2 long straightaways and a curved end, banks of stone seating climbing away on both sides into the dark, and down the middle, the spine, the raised barrier, the chariots thunder around. Set along its length, with trophies the city has been collecting for 9 centuries. An Egyptian obelisk, older than almost everything, its carvings crisp in the moonlight as if cut last year. A bronze column of 3 twisted serpents brought from Delphi, green-black with age. Other monuments whose stories have half worn off. The spine at night looks like a museum that wandered outside and lay down. On race days, this place is the loudest human sound in the world. The factions, blues and greens, and everyone here is one or the other. Ask any child, roar their teams down the straits, and they say you can hear it from ships out on the Marmara, a mile of people shouting with one throat. Emperors watch from the palace box because emperors must. More than one has learned in this building exactly what the city thinks of him. Tonight, nothing. 100,000 seats of silence, and the silence has the same shape the roar would have, long and curved at one end. Walk out onto the track. The sand is raked. The crews do it after the last race, and it keeps until the next. And your feet leave the only marks on it. Down by the curved end, a night bird is doing short, low patrols between the monuments, hunting whatever hunts in raked sand. Climb a few tiers of seating and sit. The stone still holds a ghost of the day's sun, the way stone does. From here, you can see over the far rim. Rooftops, a dark spill of them, down toward the water, and the sea beyond holding a broken line of moon. Someone has scratched letters into the seat beside you. A name and Nika, win. The fan's eternal prayer, carved by some blue or green who sat here a lifetime ago or last month. The seats are covered with these. 100,000 places, and nearly every one of them signed. Empty stadiums at night are supposed to feel lonely. This one doesn't, quite. It feels like a drum between beats. One more stretch of the night is waiting. The walk along the sea walls, where the city finally runs out of city and the lighthouse keeps its fire. It's downhill all the way, and the sea will be on your right the whole time. The sea walls run along the Marmara shore for miles, tower after tower, and there's a walk along the top the whole way. Sentries' business officially, but the sentries of this stretch have long since made their peace with night strollers who climb the stair and keep to themselves. Up here, the city is on your left, and the sea is on your right, and the wind can't decide which it belongs to. It comes off the water smelling of salt and weed, crosses the parapet, picks up wood smoke and cypress from the city side, and hands the mixture back and forth all night. The Marmara lies wide open under the moon. No harbour chain out here, no sheltering horn, just the sea itself, running dark to a horizon you can only find by where the stars stop. The moon has laid its usual road on the water, and scattered wide across the dark are the fishing fires. Little points of flame, each one a boat, each boat a man or two working lamps over the side because light brings the fish up. You counted lights like these once from another wall, over another bay. Different sea, same trade. Some nights you can hear them faintly across the water. A thump of wood, half a shout. But tonight they're just lights, keeping their spacing, riding the same slow swell. Walk the wall top westward, tower to tower. Each tower is a small room of deeper dark, with a doorway at both ends. In the third one, a sentry's brazier is down to its last warmth, and the sentry himself is up on the parapet, leaning on his spear in a way that has more sleep in it than soldiering. He hears you pass. One boot shifts. That's the whole conversation. Then the wall bends, and there's the lighthouse. It's a stout tower on the corner of the old palace grounds, the Pharaoh's, with a fire kept burning at its top in a housing of bronze and glass, and it is doing the oldest work there is, being visible. The flame up there is bigger than it looks from below. They feed it all night, pitch pine and oil, and its light reaches out over the water where you can watch it lie down. A long faint lane of it, wavering seaward, crossing the moon's road at an angle. Every ship beating up the Marmara tonight has a man at the bow with his eye on this exact flame. Stand where the wall widens by the tower base. Below, at the wall's foot, the sea works at the stones the way it has since the stones went in. Not waves exactly, this close in. Just a patient dark slopping, rise and settle, the sound the city falls asleep to on this whole southern edge. Gold above, water below. The fire in its glass, the sea at the foot of the wall, and between them the long dark line of the city holding both apart and belonging to both. If this whole night has been walking two things toward each other, here is where they stand closest. The lighthouse keepers have a hut against the tower with a lamp in the window. Small fire tending the big one. Past it, a stair goes down off the wall into the palace quarters' quiet lanes. And somewhere in those lanes is an inn that knows about late arrivals. Your bed is 10 minutes away. Let's go down. The inn stands in a lane below the palace walls, and the sign over its door is a ship. Painted, faded, repainted. You can see 3 layers of ship if you look. Sailors trade mostly. The innkeeper's lamp burns in a niche by the entrance, and a boy who should be asleep, and nearly is, shows you up the stairs, hands you a lit clay lamp without a word, and pads back down. The room then, Stone walls, whitewashed a long time ago, gone the color of good paper. A narrow bed with a wool blanket in brown and cream stripes, woven by somebody's aunt in some village, warm as a handshake. A stool, a niche in the wall for the lamp. The wall was built with the lamp in mind. Every wall here is. And a small deep window, shutters open, with the night standing in it. Put the lamp in its niche. It's a plain clay lamp, palm-sized, a thumbprint fired into the base where the potter held it, and its flame settles at once into that steady oval that oil lamps find and keep. The niche's plastered curve takes the light and rounds it into the room. Warm, low light, floor to about shoulder height, and dimness above, which is the correct arrangement of light for the end of a day. The window gives you the low rooftops of the lane, a strip of wall top, and past it, you can hear it better than see it, the sea doing its patient work against the stones at the wall's foot. Rise and settle, rise and settle. This whole edge of the city keeps that sound in its windows, the way other rooms keep the sound of a courtyard fountain. The people born in these lanes say they can't sleep inland. It's too quiet, and the quiet is the wrong shape. Sit on the bed, wool, then rope lattice under the mattress, giving a low, honest creak, then stillness. The blanket smells faintly of cedar, chest kept, moth-minded, someone's good housekeeping. Listen to the last of the city with your eyes closed. The sea at the wall, a rope creaking on the well pulley in the courtyard when the breeze finds it. Far off, very far now, streets and streets, thinned to almost nothing. A few low voices rising and settling together. The monks, still at it, holding their long night watch over everyone. You'd miss it entirely if you didn't know to listen. Once you do, it's there under everything, patient as the sea and about as old. Chant and water, fire and gold. All night this city has been holding its treasures in pairs, the lamps and the harbor, the mosaics and the cisterns, the lighthouse over the Marmara. And here in this small whitewashed room, the pairs come to rest. One clay flame in a niche, one dark sea at the window, and you between them, finally horizontal. Tomorrow the chain will come down at the harbor mouth, and the masts will fill with morning. The Mese will roar, the bakers are already winning their race with the dawn. None of it, not one loaf, not one ship, needs anything from you. The lamp knows its business, the sea knows its. Let your eyes rest on the little flame as long as you like, and then let them close. A few more words, and I'll say goodnight. So here we are, at the end of the night walk. We came in past the sleeping ships, you and I, with the great chain holding the harbor door. We went down the turning stair to the cistern and listened to one drop of water say itself again and again through a forest of columns. We walked the moonlit spine of the Mese, past the pepper dust and the dropped bone button. We followed the bread smell down the baker's lane. We stood under the dome that hangs like it was let down from heaven and watched a small man tend great lamps. We heard the wooden board wake the monks and the chant come through the wall. We sat in 100,000 empty seats. We watched the lighthouse lay its lane of fire on the sea. And now you're here, with the clay lamp in its niche and the sea at the window, doing the oldest sound it knows. The city will keep. The chain is up. The monks are singing. The dough is rising in the dark. So let it all get quieter now. Let the sea get quieter. Let the chant get quieter. Let my voice get quieter too. If you're still awake, that's fine. There's no hurry and nothing to get right. And if you've been gone since the cistern, or the gold, or the wall, then you did the walk exactly right. Sleep well. Somewhere ancient, the lamps are burning low. Good night.